Now, ladies and gentlemen, let's moving forward. We have the next session, the breakaway session, and the topic will be period-friendly wash facilities in school, institution, and the workplaces. I request to welcome the panel head. Will, with a huge round of applause, give it a hand and let's welcome Mrs. Jennifer Selvaraj, National MHM Consultant, UNICEF India. Give it a hand and let's welcome them, ma'am. Everyone, please do it all together. I think we have to set the energy over here. Now, please welcome the panelist, Ms. Farheen Naz, founder and CEO of We the Change. Please welcome Ms. Neena Jolly, co-founder and the trustee of the Adrishila Trust. Please welcome Dr. Ankita Gupta, research and communication specialist of Bala. Please welcome Dr. Shobha Pankaj Shah, Director, Adolescence, Health and Training, Seva Ruler. Now, I request the panel head to start this session. Over to you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. Today's conversation is going to be something that's very basic, yet very important and powerful. Creating space, creating safe, dignified, clean space for menstruation in schools, workplaces, and institutions. We talk so much about awareness and access, but the reality is, if the facilities are not supportive, the experience is not going to be positive. Across India, we are seeing a lot of progress, but the gaps continues to be there. There is lack of disposal facilities, there is limited privacy, and there are workplaces that are made simply without keeping menstruators in mind. So today our goal is very simple. We are going to unpack what it really takes and what we really need to create a period-friendly wash systems that last not as projects but as everyday lived realities. So we have a wonderful set of panelists with me. I would like to take a moment and first go on to our panelist, Farheen. So Farheen Naz, our first panelist, is the founder and CEO of We the Change and the force behind Ziva Sustainable Solutions. She has sensitized over 1 lakh people across India and East Africa on menstrual health and waste management. Farheen is a leading green period movement with her 100% compostable bamboo pads that turn into manure within months. She brings a rare blend of innovation, sustainability, and powerful grassroots experience. So I think Farheen has a short presentation for us. So handing over to you to take it forward.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much, Gramale, for having us here and giving us this opportunity. And thank you so much to Jennifer and our co-panelists today. I am Farheen Naz and I'm the founder and CEO of We the Change. It's an organization that works on menstrual health, hygiene and menstrual waste management across India and parts of East Africa. Today, we are here to talk about a very important topic, which is wash facilities in schools, institutions, and workplaces. How and why of it? May we have the presentation, please? COVID 2020 और we started raising funds to help daily wages. During first wave, I was on ground donating ration kits to marginalized communities और एक महिला ने आकर मुझसे सैनिटरी पैड का पैकेट मांगा जो मेरे पास नहीं था. On listening to a no, she said, दीदी राशन तो सब बांट रहे हैं, पैड कोई नहीं बांटता. यहाँ खाने के पैसे नहीं हैं तो पैड कहाँ से लाएंगे? फिर कपड़े पर जाना पड़ता है जो बहुत अनकंफर्टेबल होता है. एंड वो एक स्टेटमेंट और जैसे मेरे फर्स्ट पीरियड से लेके अगले कुछ सालों का ट्रॉमा आंखों के सामने घूम गया, एक फ्लैशबैक की तरह. I came back home with that thought, sat with my brother and discussed this incident. And he said, Api, you're already working in the field of social sector and you have been talking about taboo topics with youngsters. Why don't we do something about it? And that particular evening, We the Change happened. We sat together and we discussed and decided कि हम menstrual hygiene kits provide करेंगे during COVID, जो 5 से 6 महीने के लिए सप्लाईज होंगे ताकि बार बार किसी को पैड्स के लिए परेशान होने की ज़रूरत ना पड़े. Started with Delhi and then we expanded ourselves in different parts of the country. Today, We the Change has its presence in 18 states across India, and we are working with world's largest refugee community in Uganda and under deserving communities in Kenya. With the experience that we have got from the ground, I would like to take you through a quick journey bridging awareness and infrastructure in the wash facilities in schools, organizations and institutions. To begin with, I think when we talk about the schools, I would start with my own story at school, Bhutiya toilets, जहाँ पर lights नहीं होते थे, पानी टपकता रहता था. And I think the same story I resonated with our teams in Assam who are working in schools, and hearing the similar stories from them actually pushed us to understand, toilets तो हैं, लेकिन शायद 20% लड़कियां भी उन्हें इस्तेमाल नहीं करती क्योंकि सिर्फ टॉयलेट होना ज़रूरी नहीं है, वहाँ पर पानी, बिजली और डिस्पोजल का होना भी ज़रूरी है, द मीन्स टू डिस्पोज. एंड वाई हैज़ इट बीन अ टॉयलेट एंड नॉट दी अदर फैसिलिटीज़? बिकॉज सबसे पहले तो इम्पॉर्टेंट ये रहता है कि कैसे हम इस बात को समझें कि वो टॉयलेट के अंदर लॉक या कुंडी का कल्चर नहीं है. जैसे द अदर पैनलिस्ट ऑल्सो सेड कि सुसाइड ना हो जाए. I mean, that is some other reason, but then also understanding that, educating people on menstrual education and having accessibility to the toilets, they are seen as two different projects, which is so complementary to each other, and we are missing on that gap actually. So last year we had this rally in Assam, taking girls out on roads, asking for their right to have proper wash facilities in their schools. And that was a huge success, how we sensitized schools and organization and administration to work on that. And that actually not only shaped the awareness design, but also enables the design in awareness. So that was how and why. And we are talking about the solutions here right now. The 3 pillars of a period-friendly space: privacy, inclusivity, and maintenance. Lockable doors, no gaps, झीरी नहीं होनी चाहिए in layman language, दरवाज़ों के बीच में. आधे दरवाजे नीचे से टूटे रहते हैं, कहीं कोई झांक ना ले. लॉक नहीं होते तो उस दरवाजे के पीछे पैर लगा के बैठना पड़ता है कि कोई खोल ना ले. How uncomfortable is that? There's no proximity to it. मुझे अपने क्लासरूम से 200 मीटर दूर जाना पड़ता था on my period days to access toilet, which is really uncomfortable, क्योंकि पैड तो आज के ज़माने में भी रैशेस देते ही हैं. पोर्टेबल वाटर, पानी तो था लेकिन फर्श पे नल नहीं चलते थे, टूटे हुए पाइप्स के साथ. आई एम श्योर कि ये कंडीशन आज भी बिल्कुल सिमिलर है बहुत सारे स्कूल्स में. एंड वी डिडंट यूज टू हैव डस्टबिन इन द टॉयलेट्स. तो कहीं वॉशरूम के कोने में यूज सैनिटरी पैड्स पड़े होते थे या फ्लश में डाले गए होते थे. How many of you are resonating to all these things that I'm sharing? I think most of us may or have had experienced this in our lives. So the other pillar is universal inclusivity. One size does not fit all. We all have different choices, and so accessibility and needs are different. So a 12-year-old girl, a female factory worker, or a teacher in the classroom may have different choices and the way they deal with it. And of course, when we talk about design, it has to be flexible. Flexible in the sense of if they're elderly, then they should have, bars to hang on to while walking. The third pillar is sustainable maintenance. The broken law can the facility's purpose. The solution is community ownership. Let's not just keep it within classroom walls, and the maintenance, the regular maintenance of the facilities is really important. So what should we do now? The call to action is our collective responsibility towards maintaining these wash facilities in schools, communities, and organizations. So, in Uganda, where we are working right now, we came across this scenario that they don't even have toilets. Having an access to toilet is far more a privilege here than there. And then we realized that we have to work this around. We are talking to universities and their schools of architecture, where we are planning to make makeshift toilets accessible to these refugee communities and making sure they have the regular water supply. It's not just about building a toilet. We are also trying to make these communities in consultation with us to know what they want, what they need, and how can we accommodate these requests. So it's not just before we build, it's also during we build and having their feedbacks on how we can improve them later. We need the policy makers to have the mandate to have MHM trainings for wash engineers. It is as important as making teachers understand the importance on menstrual hygiene awareness and train them so that they could take these topics to the classroom, as well as the engineers, so that whenever they make a toilet design, they should know that it has to be menstrual friendly. We also want to have the audits for these menstruators, how well the programs are going, and we should stop building toilets for people but with them. So today, you, we, I, and all of us here should understand and support that period-friendly wash isn't a luxury, it's a dignity, it's a right. And let's build a world together where no one misses school or work due to lack of menstrual accessibility and awareness. Thank you so much for listening to me and having me today.
Important points that you have highlighted on actually what it means to have a period-friendly toilet. And as you rightly said, it's not a luxury, it's actually a necessity for our dignity. Not going deep into it because we are short on time. I'm going to jump to our next panelist, Ms. Neena Jolly. She's the co-founder and trustee of Adashira Trust, a development professional with more than 30 years in the sector. She has shaped major public health and education programs, impacted over 4 lakh people, and holds special consultative status with the UN ECOSOC. Her work on menstrual health and UTI prevention among migrants and rag picker communities has created some of the most inclusive and community-rooted models we have today. Looking forward to hearing from you, ma'am. I think you also have a short presentation.
Yes, very short. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Good afternoon, everyone. And I welcome all the delegates, all the panelists, and all the speakers, and some of the eminent guests who would like to hear us out on this special initiative. It's an honor to stand here with everyone who shares one purpose and one promise: to protect the dignity, the health, and the future of every girl in our country. Today, I hope we can open a conversation not only about facilities and systems, but about lives, the challenges, and the dreams behind them. Today, I want us to look beyond menstrual hygiene, as we usually speak of it, because poor menstrual hygiene is a clinical risk with lifelong consequences. Recurrent UTI in adolescence becomes kidney complications in adulthood. So let me take you where the journey begins. Microbes start small, but their climb is dangerous. Urethra, bladder, kidneys, and the triggers are multiple. We've been speaking about them throughout the day. Small beginnings, but big damage. We all know how UTI can be so troublesome. It starts as cystitis but becomes pyelonephritis, which is a moment where prevention is lost. This is my most important point of hygienic toilets. Here we lose that prevention and start the journey of kidney injury. We actually started a project of screening for chronic kidney disease. But what we saw shocked us. We found only 4 to 5% of chronic kidney disease and 96% of kidney stress from UTI and other preventable infections. Acute kidney injury is sometimes reversible, but at this stage, completely unacceptable to us. We have to prevent this to protect our kidneys in the future. The Renal Care Initiative project matters at this stage as we look at the hygiene of toilets, as we look at the uncontrolled injuries the kidneys are facing because of unhygienic toilets. And another alarming reality. 43.2% were under the age of 39, and almost 50% of them were under the age of 18. Girls were stepping into adulthood with damaged kidneys, and we add 3,000 patients every year in Delhi alone. We cannot build the dialysis infrastructure so fast as we are building the kidney patients. I don't want to see them here because I've seen many young girls and children going through this process. Can we prevent this? The main focus is on prevention and mindset change. Infrastructure alone doesn't protect kidneys. Mindset does. Silence by girls delays treatment. Stigma stops care. When fathers, teachers, and workplaces support girls, we prevent infections long before they reach the kidneys. And this is how Adharshila approaches it, with education, screening, hygiene, mindset change, and long-term awareness. We focus on the 96% at risk. We build pathways from menstrual health to UTI prevention to kidney protection in our health centers. A very important key message at this point I would like to highlight is the microbial infections, which start so small but their consequences reach the kidneys. Prevention today protects the kidneys of tomorrow. Our screenings, focusing on 96%. We have to focus on preventable infection. Nearly 1 in 4 of them were children. How is this acceptable? A girl does not lose her kidney health because her body failed her. She loses it because we failed her. Because she held her urine all day. Because she was taught to hide her pain. Because we never taught the boys what menstruation really is. Because we built toilets but did not maintain them. Because commitment was missing where it mattered the most. this burden is preventable. And together, we can be the generation that ends it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for this crisp and short presentation. I really like the point where you have highlighted how prevention is at the heart of menstrual health. And
Actually, in another panel also, we were speaking about the integration of health and nutrition in MHM, which is, I think, very important. And we are also doing the same. So I think we are all going to incorporate these kind of initiatives and not work in silos with MHM. So thank you so much.
so your insights show how simple hygiene measures can be life-changing. And on that note, let me go on to our next panelist. We have Dr. Ankita with us. Just a moment. Okay. Dr. Ankita Gupta, Research and Communication Specialist at BARA. She leads research and advocacy on menstruation, sexual and reproductive health, gender, and adolescence education. Dr. Ankita is empaneled as a menstrual behavior change expert with Dalberg Advisors and has mentored projects with Brown University and the University of Warwick. Happy to have you with us. I would want to start with asking you that your organization has reached over millions of girls and women, and you continue to implement so many programs with them. From your experience, what is the most overlooked element when the organization and institutions plan menstrual-friendly infrastructure or systems as a part of their project implementation?
Thank you, Jennifer. I think what has very clearly come up in conversations in this panel is that every one of us has experienced so many things as we've been growing up in terms of the lack of maintenance and support that exists in infrastructure. So I'm just going to start from there itself, and I'm going to talk about 3 instances that have been very clear in the data that we find again and again. Number 1 is that in all the work that we've done in rural India with schoolgirls, one thing that comes up very commonly is that ma'am, we cannot use the washroom during our periods because teachers say there's nobody to maintain the washroom. So during our periods, they ask us to go back home or they ask us to stay at home. So most of the girls are regularly missing those days of school. Earlier, they were missing it because they didn't have proper menstrual products. Now, even if some of them have access to product, they're still missing it because they don't have the correct infrastructure to manage menstruation in schools. The second thing that comes up, because we are also talking about workplaces, when we think of menstrual health and workplaces, our mind immediately goes to offices, corporate settings. We rarely think about informal sector work as work. But when we speak to women in those areas, specifically I'm talking about women working in factories, garment setups, manufacturing, the biggest issue that comes up there is basic supply of water. So we've been told that oftentimes the employer will turn off the water supply during the break so that women don't use the toilet, because if they use the toilet, it will impact their productivity. And this has a direct impact in them not being able to change their product, not being able to use washroom like ma'am also mentioned, and directly leading to UTIs and preventable medical issues. And the third thing that comes up is, if you're talking about institutions, so a lot of schools have residential hostels. And when we speak to teachers, wardens who are working in these hostels, the biggest issue that comes up is, itne bade hostel mein there are 2 dustbins, and everyone is just throwing away everything in that one dustbin. So sometimes it's very difficult for us to manage the sanitation waste. And that's why we find menstrual pads stuck under beds or clogged in the toilets. And that causes challenges for the students as well as the sanitary worker. So I think even when we're talking about wash infrastructure, have we been able to provide the necessary maintenance and operation that is required? We talk about design systems, we talk about parent-friendly infrastructure, but at the end of the day, जो basic necessity है, to be able to use the washroom, to be able to access water, to be able to dispose your sanitary waste. These opportunities are missed when we look at infrastructure in period-friendly Brush.
You have beautifully put together how, what are the gaps that people face as project implementers when we look into the implementation of wash facilities. We also have Dr. Shobha with us, who has extensive experience. She is the Director of Adolescent Health and Training at Seva Rural and has spent nearly 4 decades serving tribal and rural communities in Gujarat. So, Dr. Shobha, I wanted to ask you, how can we strengthen the coordination between the education and health departments to ensure that menstrual wash initiatives in schools are sustained beyond the project timelines that we have?
Thank you, Jennifer. So this is a very good question. Actually, in menstrual hygiene, we need to have convergence. The girls, adolescents are in the schools, they are in the hostels, they are in the Anganwadis. So we need to have convergence between health, education and the WCD departments. That is the one of the important thing in the menstrual hygiene management. We had opportunity to work with UNICEF in Gujarat, Narmada district, and the convergence was one of the important focus on that to start with. Like, we started with the stakeholders meeting and we came at the one goal along with all the departments. That's what we want to achieve. We want to achieve menstrual hygiene management. We want to make aware the adolescents. We want to involve teachers. We want to involve peer educators. So we started with that. So I think convergence is very much important. Health department has some technical inputs. Educational department should have infrastructure, as already we discussed, functional facilities for the girls, or maybe female teachers are there. So this is very much needed. So there should be division of the roles and responsibilities. Like, schools have facilities, health department should provide the technical guidance. So, and the WCD departments where the out of school girls are there, they also can play their important role to make aware, make the disposal system in the community. So, and the fourth important thing is the monitoring. So there is a policy in the place, but who is going to monitor whether these toilets are functional or not, water is coming or not, what is the problem, what is the issue. As along with this, there is one issue regarding menstrual disorders also. Girls, when we did this study, 34% girls used to remain absent during menstruation due to pain, maybe due to heavy bleeding, and they don't have facility for that, maybe no painkiller tablets, so just remain at home and missing their education. So I think, so here the health department can help them. Education department should demand to the health from health department. So like this, the monitoring system, there is also reporting system should be there, and there are opportunities like there is RBSK program, RKSK program, school health. Then now in Ayushman Bharat scheme, there are teacher ambassadors are also created. I think we need to train them, being them at one place. For example, teachers training, A&M training, or this training can be done together, and the roles responsibility should be clarified and monitored. That's what I think is very important aspect of convergence for the menstrual hygiene management. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shobha. On this note, I would like to ask one last question to all of you. What is that one policy change that you feel that would transform the entire menstrual health infrastructure in our country? What could be that one policy change? We can start with Dr. Shobha, then.
I think we have gone through the policy as also part of the making policy also. I think what the point I talked before, that regarding menstrual disorders and linkages to the girls who having around 60-70% girls have some of the problem. Some girls, they miss school also, so they should have linkages with adolescent friendly health clinic, and maybe every school should have some first aid kit where the girls can have at least painkiller tablet and some space to take rest. I think this thing can be added. And another thing, monitoring. So policy is in place, but for example, in policy they say that all Jan Aushadhalaya will be having low-cost sanitary, biodegradable sanitary pads, but it's not available in rural area. In the cities only Jan Aushadhalayas are available. So how can we make these things to accessible to the girls in the rural area? So I think this I want to make in the change in the policy point. Thank you.
I think I would feel that long-term commitment to these four walls is very important. I feel that we have already gone a long way in making and talking about toilet infrastructure, we are making it all the way and all the schools have toilets. But the main audit should be, are we maintaining it? And I would like to request all those people, all the CSR partners who are making toilets, to maintain it for years, at least maintain it for a generation, and for that generation of girls to pass out from the school without any severe health issues. Prevent them to develop health issues from there itself.
So, for me, I think one recommendation that goes out is having a mandate of having minimum standards of maintaining facilities at schools, workplaces, and institutions, because having the facility to access a space which is safe and hygienic is the need of the hour and right of every menstruator. And I think the shift has to go from just distributing free sanitary pads or sanitary pads is now is the time to shift the entire goal to maintaining wash facilities for the menstruators and beyond.
Thank you. I think I want to take up from points everyone has shared. At this point, we know that menstruation infrastructure, period-friendly wash infrastructure is not a luxury, right? It's a basic necessity. So I would advocate for policies that are more holistic. Holistic, like ma'am mentioned, hum log silos mein we are working. So what would that entail? Design systems. Like Fahinji mentioned in the beginning, the designs are not inclusive enough. Operations and maintenance, like both of our panelists have also mentioned, I think, and finally, along with the product aspect, it's also important to have interventions that are stigma-free. So we can't be creating policies where in one policy we are creating a washroom, in one policy we are creating a situation where the product is distributed, in one policy we are educating. All of this, and then a monitoring system. So the policies need to be more holistic. I think that's my one takeaway.
To summarize, I would like to give my answer as a cohesion of everyone's opinion. If I had to choose one policy change, I agree with Farina, I would mandate a national standard that every school, institution and workplace must provide a fully functional period-friendly wash facility with water, soap, privacy, disposal system and access to menstrual products, and make it a part of accreditation, inspection and compliance goal. When dignity becomes a requirement, not an option, the system changes. So we had a wonderful discussion. Thank you everyone. Do we have any questions? Yeah.
Hello everyone. I am Snehal, I am founder at Kshitij Foundation, and we have built the Anandi room, which is period-friendly room and toilets in school, colleges, mostly in the tribal areas, and one at the administrative building at the collector office. My question is, what we are facing is the maintenance issue. We established the monitoring system over there, we kept the स्वच्छता कमेटी ओवर देयर, बट जो लेवल पे मेंटेनेंस होना चाहिए वो नहीं हो रहा है, तो उसके लिए कुछ अच्छा सा ऑप्शन हो सकता है क्या? And the second thing is most of the आनंदी rooms are at the tribal areas. तो वहाँ पे ना electricity cut off का बहुत ज़्यादा issue रहता है. तो जो हम लोगों ने machines वगैरह वहाँ पे लगाई है, उसके लिए कुछ दूसरा options हो सकता है क्या? हाँ, it's a proper room. It was built under the guidance of Yusuf Kabir and the team. Yes, yes.
I think with my experience, when we develop this MHM corner, we need to have some committee who is responsible for that. For example, schools, the teachers ambassador and two peer educators who are replenishing the atoms or maybe maintaining cleanliness and everything. So I think we should have committee who is responsible. We can change this committee after some interval. So I think, and the goal should be like shared goal कि भी इसको maintain करना है. So that should be, that's I think the my suggestion.
I also think having a teacher supporting the committee will also be useful, not just leaving it totally with the students, but making a teacher a part of the committee, which we have seen in Assam and other places, has brought in a lot of change. And I think more just towards from the staff, from the teachers and the principals also to get involved in the day-to-day functioning and maintenance of the menstrual infrastructure. Anybody else?
I think we should stop looking it as a chore and make it a community-led initiative where not just school, but the students, teachers, and the members from the community should be made a part of this whole wonderful project that you are running. And it should not run in silos, है ना? तो सब साथ मिलकर अगर करते हैं, तो I think इसके outcomes बहुत strong और बहुत long lasting हो सकते हैं.
Any other question?
Thank you so much.
Question that she had, alternatives to electricity. So like you were mentioning, in areas where electricity is an issue, must have installed incinerators and pad vending machines. Particularly because we are working in tribal areas, reusable products are proving to be very, very beneficial. Ek to because cost effectiveness is there, and secondly because this challenge of being able to not get more product or dispose of the product, that issue is completely eradicated. And at the same time, the issue of waste is also solved. So I think if you're accompany that with an educational program, reusable products are very successful in these communities.
Actually, madam, we tried that one, but the school में pad wash करना it's not possible. वो एक issue आ रहा है हमें. और secondly कि मैं जहाँ पे काम कर रही, it's totally tribal area, तो वहाँ पे menstrual cup use करना, मतलब pad तक अभी तक वो लोग आए हैं, कब उनके लिए they get scared of it. तो it definitely need more awareness. I will do that. Thank you so much.
Any next question?
So, thank you so much and a very amazing panel. So, I'm Nandini, the founder of Kamakya Health Organization. So, we've recently started working for the vulnerable communities. Like for last 1 year, we've been doing medical camps, awareness sessions for police women, that also rural district police women, and also doing the site mapping with the Wash India and the UNICEF India of the washrooms and infrastructure. So, according to the report we are creating, we have seen that the rural police women, we tend to usually talk about, like one of you said that, it's all about village women's or schools. But we're not going, like how Dr. Ankita said, even on the women laborers. So police women, the washrooms is in utmost a very bad condition, and majority of their washrooms at the rural police stations are used as a public washroom. And also secondly, on the site mapping, they don't have signages. They had 2 washrooms, which obviously they have just said one is for women, the other is for men. And they have the dustbin, which is outside. They have an Indian sitting. So the infrastructure is completely bad because now this is government-led. At the city level, yes, it's still better, but at a headquarter also it's not there. So according to you people, what is the first intervention? So we're doing medical camps and we're doing follow-ups if they come with pap smear, any positive results. We're trying to do an intervention of giving them the products. But infrastructure, because it's government head and this is a government sector, how can we do an intervention here?
I think good questions. The women in the war or maybe the police facilities, like, I think we need to sensitize who is the leader of the team. Like, for example, police station, a PSI, police inspector is there. So we need to sensitize male also. Most of the time, male people are there who are the leaders are there. I think if we sensitize them, it can make the difference. What is our problem? Sometimes we don't speak. There is silence around this. If we demand that we want this simple dustbin we want, simple center napkin should be available, some wrapping paper should be available, and of course there should not be overflowing dustbins also. So you also want somebody who cleans it. I think simple demanding and sensitizing leaders may simplify this issue. Thank you.
I think this kind of focuses right on what I said, how toilets are built without keeping menstruators in mind. I think taking what Dr. Shobha said, other than that, I think it would be good if we can directly sensitize the government officials also, directly, because just doing sensitization at the ground level, at the place where there is an issue is not going to give you any result unless and until it's being implemented from the top. So you have to start the sensitization parallel with these people also, with the government officials, and kind of get this issue, get the women police people, women policemen to kind of state it as their problem, not for you to have been identifying it, They have to state it as a problem. Many a times what happens is we go as organizations and we say this is your problem. Unless and until they see it as a problem, it's never going to change. So that has to come, that is the first step, I would say. And then you go on to sensitizing men, the officials, and then change happens.
Yeah, I think what you truly said, because one of the police sessions we went, we did it in Surat district in Gujarat. They said in Gujarati ki, in Hindi I'll just translate ki, you people are mad. आप ये क्या गंदी गंदी बातें करने, you've come, and you people should understand that you are also girls. आप क्या हमसे ये सब बात करें? So I think, and those were PSIs. So who said that? In fact, the ISP of the city was so initiated that this is important. He gave the entire project name as Ankahi Kahaniyan, as in something which, So I've realized men in the government system are still more forward, like, okay, this is important, and they're identifying, but the women themselves are not identifying. So correctly said. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for that wonderful session. And perhaps I'm oversimplifying it when I'm saying this. So I'm a public health researcher and a preventive cardiology, and I work with menopause and CVD risk. So what I think is, in India generally, if I speak, there is a lack of civic sense in general, in a bigger picture at large. And I think it all needs to begin there. That, if you are generally maintaining hygiene, then you would do it when, whether you're a boy or a girl or you're menstruating or however, you would clean after yourself. And that stops a lot of problems to some extent, You just can't exist like that. So that culture is missing, that civic sense, that culture is missing. And that is an answer to a lot of questions and a lot of solutions, because we cannot wait for these policies to come into actions. And we cannot wait for, some higher professionals sitting somewhere in big offices to recognize what is happening in day-to-day washrooms and schools, etc. So that culture, I think we need to bring in, perhaps in a mandate of education. Probably school level would be the best place to start for both boys and girls. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
So I think this is very pertinent. We just tried a pilot study in a school, and it was called the Civic Duty Curriculum, and it was based on period-friendly wash. So our primary work is on menstrual education and product access, but this was an unique initiative where we wanted to co-create a solution with the school students. So we approached classes 4 to class 10. Their schools didn't even have washroom 1.5 years back, so they had recently installed washrooms, and what we wanted to do with them was to just make them understand that you need to respect each other's boundaries, each other's space. If you want things clean to be for you, you need to ensure that it's the same for everybody who's using this public place. And when we created this, for us, this was just a pilot of 3 months where we wanted to see what outcomes can it lead to. We've seen that, now when we go back to that school, it's the same level of hygiene that is being managed because these class 4, class 5 students have taken it upon themselves ki we are the owners of the cleanliness, the hygiene, and like ma'am was mentioning, when it comes from within the community, the maintenance takes place. So I wholeheartedly agree with you that
Ownership to
yes,
that
ownership.
space or to that place. Yes. Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Just to add to it, thank you so much for bringing that. At We the Change, we have launched a quick campaign that is called Tere Ghar Mein Maa Bahin Nahi Hai Kya? And that actually makes it so easy to break stigmas and normalize periods with men, with boys. We have a rugby team that we started launching this campaign with. When I went to take a session with the girls of the team, and we were sensitizing boys and girls together because the boys team was also there. So we made them sit together and work together. And then while we were distributing menstrual hygiene kits to the girls, a boy came and asked for the menstrual hygiene kit. And I asked him, "आप क्या करने वाले हो इसका?" He said, "मैं अपनी girlfriend को दूंगा." And that made the whole difference. And then the other one came and said, "मुझे मम्मी के लिए चाहिए." The other one came and asked for his sister. And that's the same moment we launched the campaign, "तेरे घर में माँ बहन नहीं है क्या?" And we are taking it to lengths and breadths of the country and destigmatizing the space. I think civic sense comes from the family, from our peer groups, from our friends. And this is the best way to normalize periods, for sure. So let me tell you, men are the greatest supporters of menstruators. It started from my house. My brother came forward and supported me, and I have more than 26 male members in my team who are taking these, awareness sessions across the communities in India.
Okay. So just summarizing everything, I think we have agreed that period-friendly toilets are not a luxury. We also have to now agree that civic sense is not something that is trendy and stylish. I think many times, I don't know how many of you have come across, but I have personally experienced where I have put garbage in my bag rather than throwing it, and with बड़े लोग ये तो garbage लेके घूमते हैं, हम तो ऐसे ही फेंकते हैं. So they make you feel guilty for being, more aware. Yeah. So, or if you are a little more washing your hands every time before having food, even when you are into deep remote areas, you are again, अच्छा साबुन के बिना हाथ नहीं धोएगी. Those kind of small taunts, and many of times, sadly, it's from the women counterparts or the women colleagues themselves. So I think this is where we need to bring in change. And yeah, it was great having you all as panel members and you as audience. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much. What a wonderful session. Actually, I was listening all the time, and I can say these are the power pack ladies are sitting here. And the questions people came up with this, I think they are very realistic questions. People actually trying not to talk about the periods so easily. So I think you are the one who is very, very, very open to talk about this. I think we need to teach to the boys, I think, as well, for that, be comfortable. This is the thing. And now I think most of the boys are getting taught by this only, that, okay, since if we have the girl in the home only, our mother, our sister, they're having the monthly situation, the periods are happening, and it is quite normal. So people need to treat that. I think please give it a hand for this amazing session, amazing panel head, panelists. I think that's how we can say the change makers are like. Now, I request the Gramalya team, please kindly come on stage to give the memento and Angvastram to our panel head and the panelists. Please kindly do the honor. I think you really like the whole session. I can see a lot of people are being interested and getting into all the discussions and everything. So in the meanwhile, we have a very special thing after this. So you have to be stick on the places only. Requesting to the Grammarly team, please kindly come on stage. Here we have. So we're going to start with the panel head, Mrs. Jennifer Selvraj. Please give it a hand. Once again, everyone. Now please proceed with Ms. Farheen Naz. Give it a hand for Ms. Farheen Naz, our panelist. Wonderful. Now a request, please give the memento to Ms. Nina Jolly. Give it a hand, everyone. Now a request, please proceed with Dr. Ankita Gupta. Now I request, please kindly give the memento to Dr. Shobha Pankaj Shah. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much for the amazing session. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I request please kindly be your places because we have a very amazing Muppet show is going to happen. I'm going to talk about the periods and a lot of stuff, but this time we have a Muppet show who are going to present to you the life condition. In this Muppet show, you will be seeing about the health and hygiene by the Sesame Workshop India. That's going to be a very wonderful act by this team. I request please give it a hand and let's welcome them. Everyone all together.